Open up those storytelling ears of yours. All right. So get all cozy and comfy. It's a very big living room. And there's our fireplace, and we are your storytellers. My name is Robert Kikuchi Ngoho.
My name is Nancy Wong.
And we are Ethnotech, here to take you on a listening journey of compassion with the story called Red Altar. And before we start, we'll kind of use this as a testing to balance the sound a bit and bring down all that techno thing.
Bring me up.
Modern times we live in. All right. So this is a historical piece of Nancy's family. By the way, how many of you have done family research? Research of your lights? I don't know if we can turn those lights.
Yeah, they can. I think you can turn out
The side wings?
The side ones. We want to keep the centers.
For a little bit of
Anyone
theater
know
light.
how to do that? Joey? I'm not on.
Oh, the
very
interpreter
much.
needs to have those lights on.
I know. Oh, there you go.
Right.
All right.
And Nancy's sound, you want that?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. But you can't turn those lights off? Oh.
The interpreter for
You all
the
have
hearing
baseball
impaired.
caps? There's some seats in the center if you want to, if it's really bothering. I know that would bother me a lot.
Yes. So back to family research. How many of you have done genealogies or research in your family histories? Great. It's very important for us to know where we've come so that as we move forward into the future, we know where we're going. And so this story is about diversity and history and
we will start.
We will start.
Okay.
And so we present to you Red Altar.
The wind howled like angry wailing ancestors screeching.
Shame on you for leaving China. Turn the boat north. We pass Gumsang. Turn the boat north.
Wind too strong, current too fast.
Turn the sail. Pull the rudder.
Mom,
Pull, mom, mom, pull, mom. Two women staggered to the red altar to pray before the altar.
Tin Hao, goddess of the sea, please spare us. Honorable ancestors, please save us. We'll bring honor to our family name and our new home. If only you will guide us to safety.
Lift the lamp higher. Lift the lamp higher.
No.
Suddenly, Dragon King, don't let us die.
It was 1850, and news of gold paving the streets of Gumsan, Gold Mountain, the Chinese name for San Francisco and California, had arrived the year before in the small villages in the Pearl River Delta region of southern China. And to those villages, America was an opportunity to lift oneself out of poverty.
With famine, typhoid fever, civil unrest, and the Taiping rebels turning their country into bloody killing fields, what did they have to lose?
Even with all the stories of danger that drifted across the sea that separated America from China, many had returned and survived and came back with gold and pockets full of money.
In one small village, two Chinese newlyweds, Guokpo and So Mei, along with four other teenagers, dreamt of returning from America with pockets full of money.
But not from gold, from fish.
For they had been fishing in their fishing villages from the moment they could walk, just like countless generations before them.
And the Chinese in America would want Chinese food, but these teens would bring something, not just any Chinese food, salted dried fish. for the Chinese loved fish, but the gold miners were high up in the foothills of the Sierra Mountains, far from the sea.
You see, Soulmate, look. We can sell the fish we catch to the Mexican ranchers that live too far from the coast.
No, too far away. You know, when we were matched and I married you, it was not to leave everyone and everything we know.
No, but I'm not leaving you, and you're not leaving me. We'll be together.
No, too dangerous.
I'll protect you.
No, I think I should just stay home with your mother and father and take care of them. No. I do not want to become another Gamsan widow, growing old and bent, waiting for husband to return every few years, children without a father.
Oh, talk of children so soon? How many do you want? Besides, we'll have them in our new home in America.
Yeah.
I know you'll be by my side. It's your promise. It's your duty. And besides, it's your chance, too. You'll see.
And so it was in 1850 that Kwok Bo and Soulmate, another teen couple, and two teenage young men left home to start a new life. They first traveled to the Philippines, where they purchased a 60-foot junk boat, paid by most of all of the savings of the six families, plus monies from the family associations in their village.
The Philippines was known for its trade with Acapulco, Mexico, through the sailing of the large Spanish Manila galleons. These Spanish ships were actually modeled after the design of the Chinese junk boat.
And so, the Chinese and the Filipinos knew how to build junk boats and the Spanish galleons since, well, for hundreds and hundreds of years, and because they also traveled with the Spaniards to the Americas since the mid-1500s, they knew all about the best times, the best tides, and the best routes to sail.
Whaloo Current. You know Whaloo Current?
An old merchant rolled out an old map, wired spectacles perched on the tip of his nose.
Whaloo Current go round and round like a wheel. Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack. You sail north past Japan, or you stop there, get more supplies. Then you curve east into Pacific Ocean. Oh, you catch the trade wind. Keep going east. Then catch Whaloo Current going south all the way to California coast. Journey take you 2 months, maybe. Good conditions, no problems, good sailing. But when you get close to California, oh, be careful. The coast is very rocky, very foggy, very dangerous. Do not pass Cumsan, or you go all the way to Mexico. Oh, you want map? Go to the Chinese district. Cheap price there, too.
Doje, thank you.
Thank you.
Kwok Bo, now, the marketplace. Oh, how many?
Well, depends on how many eggs we can eat every day.
I think I'll get 4 hens, 1 lucky rooster, 2 goats for milk, and 2 ducks.
Kwok Bo smiled. Soulmate was petite, but she'd be an interesting challenge. He liked her spirit, her sturdiness. Even her big feet. No bound feet for him. No, he liked having a partner, not a plaything for a wife. Oh, and he found himself in love with her and found himself finding attracted to her in ways he had not even imagined. He especially liked to watch her at night as she would untie 2 hair buns on either side of her head, her hair falling down upon her shoulder so she could brush her hair each night. And now they would be sharing an adventure together.
Kwok Bo, look, preserved meat. We'll get the squid, the pork, and the shrimp.
Oh, well, what about the preserved fruit, the pickled fruit and vegetables?
There, over there.
Oh, I'll get it.
And don't forget feed for the livestock and fresh fruit for the altar.
Hoa.
Well, Soulmate watched her husband with a pride she could not name. He was different than all the other men in her village. He was open, not afraid to talk dreams. And he seemed to like her. I mean, her mother would often scold her, hosasa chunchuna, sassy mouth. But here she was able to say anything she wanted, and he didn't seem to mind. So she decided she liked him too. He was a little skinny, so she would cook for him and fatten him up, making him into a lapsaptung garbage pail. No more leftovers. And she thought his bushy eyebrows and his big ears were kind of cute. This would be a good adventure.
Soon, along with 2 large containers full of rice and plenty of barrels of fresh water and barrels full of cooking briquettes for the meals. And since they were fishermen, they would also have plenty of fish to catch each night.
But best of all, they treasured the red altar that their families had purchased together to give them. The red altar would ensure safety and good luck, good fortune. How else could they protect their sons and daughters? And what if they never saw them again?
As the teens approached the red altar, they remembered their families and their loved ones they were leaving behind, the tearful goodbyes. Sobbing, they offered plates of mandarin oranges to Tin Hao, the goddess of the sea, and also lit incense to Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy, for they prayed that they would not only be safe, but they would someday, somehow, be able to return back to China to be with their families again. Xiao Le.
Jiaolei, let's go.
Let's go!
Oh, and so 16 scrambled to their stations, and soon the wind billowed the sails, and the junk boat began its journey out into the wide open seas, aimed at opportunity.
That morning, 5 Chinese junk boats left the shores of the Philippines on that spring morning of 1850. But now, 2 months later, only 3 boats remained in sight.
Of the 3 boats, one stopped off perhaps at the islands off the western coast of Canada. Another stopped off and landed actually on Caspar Beach, north of San Francisco, in the land of the giant trees, in a city just getting started, Mendocino.
As for their own boat, it was thrown past San Francisco by an unexpected and unseasonable storm.
And now the unmerciful current was pushing them south until they were at the shores of San Diego and Mexico.
Storm pushes past Gumsan. Turn the boat north.
Wind too strong, current too fast.
Turn the sail. Pull the rudder. Turn away from the shore. Pull. Lift the lamp higher. Lift the lamp higher.
No. Rocks.
Rocks. Oh, so many.
The morning sun shone down on a calm sea, and off in the distance a broken junk boat rocked in tandem with the sea swells rhythmically. Tattered sails unmast, rocking up and down, rippled in the lazy breeze. A rooster perched on a mast.
The waves washed up and down the shore, littering it with shards of broken bowls, shattered planks of wood, seaweed and seashells. Chickens pecked in the sand, and ducks waddled in the briny foam. 2 goats stood vigil over 6 teenage bodies sprawled on the shore there, their water so close clinging and their black hair spreading out like fingers reaching desperately towards land.
Suddenly, footsteps on wet sand.
Oh, Rosario, what do we have here?
Oh, are they alive, Tabuccio?
Rosario and Tabuccio were of the Rumsen Esalen Nation, First Nations people that inhabit along the Pacific coast and the Carmel River. Many had converted to Catholicism by the Carmel missionaries, now worked as ranch hands and seamstresses and cooks for the Mexican ranchers. Some were indentured slaves.
But this group was free, and they had walked down to the Carmel Bay to fish and to gather any sea treasures that would have washed ashore from the storm the night before. But this storm brought something quite out of the ordinary.
Rosario, they're burning up. Quick, take them up to Point Lobos. The trees will protect them from the wind. The cold has made them sick. Light a fire.
And so the 16s were carried up to the cliffs above Carmel Bay, Point Lobos. And there they were stripped of their cold, wet clothing, covered with warm blankets. And the Robinson Esalen returned to the shore to help retrieve the floating baskets and clothing and pottery, a strange red box.
For the next 2 weeks, the Rumsen peoples nursed the Chinese back to health. They began to teach them the ways of the land, where to hunt, how to gather the roots and the berries. Yes, 2 different languages did not keep these kindred groups from bonding. They were like family in more ways than one.
Now living in a land hostile to yellow, red, and black skin, these 2 groups would come together in camaraderie, protection, and friendship for many, many years to come.
They traded techniques in fish netting, for both the Rumsen peoples and the Chinese knew a great deal about fishing. But whereas the indigenous peoples fished for only what they needed at any time to eat, the Chinese saw a vast opportunity.
For where the Carmel River flowed into the Carmel Bay, there was not one fishing boat. And in the far sea beyond the bay, there was not one fishing boat.
And so, once the teenagers were healthy again, 2 of the men built cabins up on the ridge there. Yeah, they built cabins, and then 2 of the men built boats, flat-bottom sampans out of redwood. Sampans like those used back home in China.
And then they fashioned long wooden poles to push the sampan beyond the shallow bay until the paddle-like rudder in the back could guide them to deeper waters. And meanwhile, the women set up the household, planted the garden, and mended the nets that had floated ashore.
See, so May. We will sell the fish we catch to the Mexican ranchers. They live too far from the coast.
Oh, and we can also send to San Francisco. Oh, only 3 days by horse and wagon.
Yeah. We men have been talking. We think we can export the dried fish, send it back home to China.
Oh, we'll be rich. Only we and our red brothers fish these waters.
There is so much fish.
Oh.
Didn't I tell you it'd turn out good?
Fish make more money than gold. Oh, Dojie, Tinhao, goddess of the sea, thank you.
Thank you, Dragon King, Dojie.
And so it was in 1850 that these 16ers started the fishing industry in the Carmel Bay, but eventually it would expand around to the Monterey Bay and to Pacific Grove.
They found the waters rich with cod and halibut.
And sardines and yellowtail.
Yeah, redfish, bluefish,
Flounder.
squid and shark.
And mussel. Clams?
Abalone.
Abalone for sure. They found the waters very welcoming. And they worked hard and they worked long from sunup to sundown, and it paid off.
For soon, that simple cabin filled with furniture, cabinets and tables. They had found the perfect setting. There on the cliff, nestled in the trees, overlooking the great Pacific blue, the Pacific Ocean and the rocky coast. Often they would gaze westward over that great blue toward China.
Oh, I like it here. It's so beautiful.
So much water.
And so quiet. And I really like the storms too. They're so exciting.
Oh, the storms.
And have you seen the dolphin? The dolphin in the bay are the same as the dolphin back in the Delta back home.
Yeah, Pearl River Delta's just like Delta.
Yeah.
And, also, best thing, we have our own business. We invest in our own business, we make our own business decisions, and we keep the share of the profit.
And still have enough to send home to our families.
Oh, and another thing, the best of all. Look, we are safe here. Not like in the Sierra Mountains with all the Chinese being murdered and robbed.
I know, so dangerous, so dangerous there.
Oh, dangerous.
Oh, do you remember how dangerous it was when we came?
I
And all the
remember.
big storm and the water sloshing,
the
we couldn't see.
storm.
And then you said, lift the lamp higher. We lift the rocks. Oh, it was so dangerous. So fortunate to have crashed here. Now, what is that proverb that our parents always told us?
Proverb. Oh, you mean curse your wife at night, sleep alone in the evening?
No, Kwakbo, no. You know, the one,
Oh, the one about the horse.
no.
Oh, no. Well, first I want to tell you about that other one. Let's see. We're lucky number 10. That's what. Out of 10 matchmakers, 9 will lie. We got lucky number 10, and I got you, so May.
You're crazy.
You're crazy about you.
No. It is the one about the horse. You know.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sutma, imgi, saifok. A lost horse can turn into a blessing.
Yes, because when we crashed, that was the lost horse, and the blessing is yes.
Well, so am I your lucky number 10, too?
No, you're my crazy horse.
Though all Chinese in America were forbidden by law to own property, they could rent the land, they could build.
Yes, but by 1853, just 3 years after they had shipwrecked into the Carmel Bay, they welcomed 500 to 600 fellow Chinese and were selling 700 to 800 pounds of salted dry fish every day.
Now, half of that fish was sent back to China, and the other half sent up north to towns like San Francisco and beyond.
And from San Francisco, they would distribute it to the various communities in the California area. And, for example, the Chinese gold mines in the Sierras,
Or the Chinese logging camps in Mendocino.
Chinese agricultural communities, and the Chinese logging communities.
Yes. Word spread.
A railroad.
The word began to spread about the good news to be made on the Carmel and Monterey Bays. And so much so that soon all the Chinese and the many communities began flooding into Monterey, and even
From China. Oh, there was enough fish for everyone. In fact, whenever the Chinese saw that there was a diminished number of a certain species of fish, they would stop fishing that particular species for an entire season. The years were good to them, and the years went by. Kwakpo, these waters, they go all the way to China, don't they?
Yes, all the way to China. So May, you're crying.
I just miss my family so much. I wish I were these waters. I'd be home in China, and I could see my mama. Don't you miss your family?
Yes, I miss our family. I miss all of them. It's been so long. Well, then maybe it's time.
We can go back to China?
I meant maybe it's time we make our own.
You mean,
I mean,
you think?
I think.
You sure?
Oh, I'm very sure.
But what about China?
Well,
Oh, I know. We have a baby and go to China.
well, let's start practicing tonight. And so that night they went to the altar, they prayed for the goddess of fertility, Kuan Yin. And then off to the Joss house, they went to light incense and once again pray to Kuan Yin and consult the fortune book.
Is this auspicious time to go to China and have a baby?
Then they would pick up a bamboo container full of sticks, and then they shake it till the first stick came out, and they noted the number on
that's
it.
the one.
That's it. And then they consulted the fortune book.
14.
14, let's see, 12, 13, 14.
Whenever luck comes your way, everyone knows where you live.
Huh?
Huh?
Better do another one. This time, ask only one question. Ask about a boy. I want a son.
Is this auspicious time to have a baby? $53.
50, 51, 52, 53. You.
You read it.
Oh, well, you read it.
No, you read it.
Don't stand by the water and long for fish.
Go home and
Weave a net. Ha ha!
9 months later.
It's a boy!
Now can we go to China?
I have a son!
Now do we go to China?
Oh, I'll name him Tuk Lee, Kwok Tuk Lee, my son.
I guess we're not going to China.
It's a boy.
Well, it was 1855, and Tuk Lee, well, he would turn out to be a very exceptional fisherman and very clever. And then in 1859, they gave birth to another child. This time a girl, and perhaps the first Chinese girl born in the American West, and they named her simply Kwok Moi, girl belonging to the Kwok family.
This little girl would turn out to be a most wonderful little lady. At age 4, of course, she spoke Chinese. But as she played with the Rumsen Esselin children, she began to learn their indigenous language, Rumsen, as well.
And by the time she was 5, she started her education in the Red One-Room missionary school. And when she walked to school with an English missionary teacher, she expanded her English.
Of course, at school, she played with the Spanish and Portuguese-speaking children, and each day she learned more and more of their languages. So by the time Kwok Moi was 8 years old, why, that little girl could speak 5 languages.
Rumsen, Portuguese, English, Spanish, and Chinese, of course. But because these lands had been colonized by Spain for hundreds and hundreds of years, and then later deeded all their ranch and their land to Mexico, Spanish was the common language outside of the fishing village. And so, outside of the fishing village, Kwok Moi used her Spanish the most.
Kwok Moi would become the official interpreter and translator for all the Chinese business transactions in the community. Now, to her community, of course, she was known as Kwok Moi, daughter of Kwok. Within her own family, she had an endearing name, Moi Moi, little sister. To everyone outside the village, she had another name, Maria Española. Oh, she looked Chinese because she was Chinese, but everyone called her Spanish Mary.
Vamonos, vamonos, let's go!
One moment she was dashing down the beach chasing after a wave, and the next moment clambering up a tree.
Lila, hurry, Mama, hurry!
Oh, Spanish Mary was a tomboy. Oh, she was small and sturdy, with a fierce look in her eyes.
Her hair was always filled with sand, and her shoes as well. Her face was always dirty, and she smelled of the salty sea. And she rarely stood still.
No, she waited for no one, and she was friends with everyone. But all too soon...
Moi Moi, you are 9 years old now. Big girl, Dila. Time for you to stop your education and help the family, huh? Dila, big girl now.
And so she began to work, helping to gather the seaweed, spread it on the shore to dry in the sun, helping to tie the string to make the fish nets.
And she learned to scale the fish, chow yu,
to gut them and salt them,
chow yu,
and hang them up on drying racks. For racks of dry, smelly fish were strewn everywhere, on the beach, out in the fields, even on long poles hanging from houses.
And depending on which way the wind blew, Carmel, Pacific Grove, and Monterey smelled of the strong stink of dead fish. In fact, Monterey was known as the Stinky City.
Chow Yu.
Chow Yu.
For the next few years, eventually she would become the big sister of Sing Hing. She was a Best of all kinds of big sister. Always like the way a big sister should be.
Papa, when are we going to go to the parade? Come on, please, now.
Calm down. You first finish folding those tinfoil ornaments.
Papa, I just finished cutting the last red good luck sign with Mama, and you put it on the door, and I'll get Sing Hing little sister and Tuck Lee big brother to get ready to go to the parade now, please.
Oh, bossy little girl. Oh, sa chun chun ah. Ooh, sassy like your mama.
Strong like Baba.
Each year, the Chinese community grew larger and larger, and there were more and more boats dotting the Carmel Bay. Well, soon 2 more fishing villages would spring up. By 1868, the Pescadero Fishing Village, located west of now where the famous Pebble Beach Golf Course is located,
And the Point Alonas Fishing Village, where now on the very north end of that village sits the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And if you went all the way south to the end of the village, now sits Stanford's Hopkins Marine Lab.
the Spanish married. The more men there were to make the Chinese dragon dance longer and longer at the New Year's parade. And it meant more lycée, little red envelopes filled with coins for buying candy.
Baba, look, so exciting. Look. Baba, in China, do they let the girls and the ladies be in the dragon dance?
Oh, women do this? Oh, no, too embarrassing for women jumping around like that.
No, not for me. But, Baba, do you think the Lofan, the white people, want to see such a thing?
Watch women do this? Moi, you're crazy.
Oh, but Baba, look at all the Lofan, how they smile and laugh and have a good time, not be so mean to us. Baba, is it true that on Saturday nights the cowboys come to our village and round up our men and cut off their long braid, their queue?
How did you find out about that? Who told you about that? By the late 1860s, more and more European settlers were coming into the area and began to change the local politics and dominate the culture of Monterey, setting new conditions and rules for living in the area.
And now Kwokmoy began to hear strange words being tossed at the Chinese.
Evil,
Filthy.
stupid,
Ugh, inferior.
yellow peril.
The dregs of society. She didn't even know what those words meant. But when she saw their faces contort with hate and then they would spit on the Chinese, there was no doubt as to what they were feeling.
Moi, stay alert, be on guard, and always light incense to Tuti, the god who will protect us from beggars and bandits and ghosts and dangerous strangers.
But Baba, if the dangerous strangers don't like us, why do they come to our New Year's celebration?
Because it's free. You see how the Lofan, the white people, they grab the candy by the fistfuls and shove it into their pockets? No. Don't be confused. You know, those kind of Lofan, those white people, are not like our white friends in the community. No, what looks the same is not always the same.
And now, Kwokmoy looked out, and she wondered, well, which of the Lofan are the good ones, and which one are the bad ones? And the same dilemma would be on her mind when a few years later she was stronger, she was older, and she was allowed by her parents to go into the big city by herself to sell fish with her younger sister.
Sing Hing, Kwokmoy, blow on that tin horn. Get everyone's attention. Along with her sister Sing Hing, they carried long shoulder poles, and at each end of the pole hung baskets of fresh fish.
Bleep! Pescado a la venta!
Then, using a cutting board and a knife which she hung around her neck, she efficiently and quickly would gut each fish and scale each fish for the customer.
Pescado a la venta, fresh fish for sale.
Then she would shake out a newspaper to wrap each fish.
Huh. The Chinese must go. Huh. I wonder where. Ling Fan, for you. Gracias.
Each time the two girls entered the town, they marveled at all the strange things there. The strange buildings, all the other kinds of people, all their strange clothes, and all their other kinds of strange smells.
But best of all, they always brought their New Year's money to buy candy at the general store.
Hola, Maria Española.
Hola.
And for some candy, some dulces for you.
Si, señor Rizal. All pez de mar. Fish. I forgot to save one for you.
Oh, no problema. Mañana. Now, que los dulces para usted. What kind of candy for you and your little sister, Sing Fong?
No.
Sing song? Oh, caramba. Hey.
Sing hing.
Aye, of course, Sing Hing. Now, what kind of candy for you and little sister Sing Hing?
Carmelo. Delicioso.
Carmelo. You like the Carmelo. All right, good. Plenty Carmelo for you, and Sing Hing for you. Muchas gracias.
Oh, the merchants outside of the fishing village liked selling to the Chinese because they always paid with cash, unlike many of the other groups who had long IOUs.
Suddenly, a gang of boys ran up from behind the two girls, yanked the candy out of their hands, and stomped on their fish baskets. Ha 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 ha! Chinamen, haven't you heard, chink? You should just go back where you come from. By the way, there's a new law. A new law in our city. No more shoulder pulls in our town. You know, my pa said that all of you should just go back where you come from, chink.
We were born here.
The Chinese must go. The Chinese
No,
must
we
go.
were born here. Where were you born?
Chinese must go. The Chinese must go. Chink,
No,
chink, chink,
you go
chink,
back
chink,
where
chink,
you
chink.
came from.
Hey, caramba, leave these girls alone. What's wrong with you? Ay. Oh, pobrecita. No problem. Plenty Carmelo. What Carmelo for you? Carmelo, here, for you. Plenty Carmelo for you and you. Now, go home. Hurry, go home.
So the two sisters ran as fast as they could, away from the big city, tears streaming down their faces.
They ran past Rosario and Tabuccio, the family friends who could only shake their heads and sigh. For the red man had seen it all before, and now it was getting worse for their yellow brothers and sisters.
As soon as the two sisters arrived in the safety of their village, they lit incense to Tuti, the god of protection. And then they walked down to the seashore to calm down. And as Kwok Moi looked out over the wide blue waters, she saw on the horizon the gathering of dark gray clouds. A storm was brewing.
All of our children, all of them, took leave. Kwong Moi and then singing. They don't need to know about this. Besides, there's nothing we can do about this.
No, we have to do something about it.
Oh, no, look, your first duty is to the family. Look, our children need to be strong, not worried with fear.
They don't have China like us. This is their only country. This is their country.
Still, don't worry.
Oh, you can't protect them. They are smart. They just want to belong somewhere. They're Americans.
Oh, look, well, no one is lynching the Chinese in Monterey. No one there's no hate mobs against us here in Monterey.
Not yet. Come. Tuti. God of protection, please keep us all safe. Please protect our children.
1848. Darwin's theory that life perpetuates itself through a push and pull struggle would be twisted and thwarted by politicians, turning it into a new phrase, survival of the fittest. Those that could adapt to changing ways would survive, but those who could not chance extinction. Capitalism would model itself after survival of the fittest, and therefore giving continued justification for the continual extermination of First Nations people.
1849, the Indian Extermination Act. By 1873, 16,000 indigenous unarmed children, women, men, elderly were massacred. In time, 100,000 of the native peoples would die, 80% of their population decimated. By 1857, Congress declared that enslaved African Americans were not citizens, they were property, and their owners could do whatever they pleased with them.
1865, the American Civil War was won by the North.
Now, angry that the African Americans had been freed, many of the Southerners left the South and moved west.
Germans and Irish and English immigrants and their descendants from the South moved westward, bringing with them their attitudes about race.
Despite the federal government passing a law that guaranteed equality for all persons living in America,
Such as the anti-Ku Klux Klan law,
the Enforcement Act,
the courts of the South and those west of the Mississippi flaunted their disregard for federal law and for equality.
legislation did not change racist attitudes. In fact, racist attitudes wrote the laws and giving permission to many to blame the Chinese for their personal problems.
The Chinese must go! The Chinese must go! The Chinese must go! The Chinese must go!
Thousands of Chinese were marched out in the rain and the snow, the cold and the heat, taken to barges or trains to who knows where.
China could only take that which they could, that which they could carry, that which was not stolen first.
They were prodded and pushed by poles and pipes, guns and clubs, by thousands of angry white men on horses.
Among them were the sheriffs and the judges and the newspaper editors. As the Chinese escaped their homes that were torched, often they were shot, their bodies left to burn.
Laughing vigilantes would cut off a dead man's queue, sometimes more, for a souvenir. Baba, what is that screaming I hear every night?
What are you talking about?
Baba, the screaming I hear from the house 5 houses down.
There's no need to know.
Baba, I am not a child anymore. I'm 15 years old.
It's Mrs. Lee. The mob dragged her from her store in Sacramento. Mr. Lee was pinned down. He tried to help her, but she screamed and screamed, and now she screams all the time in the middle of the night. Mr. Lee was shot in the leg, but better than shot than to be lynched. So many lynchings happening now.
Baba, I am not afraid.
Don't show fear to anyone. It'll only make you weak. Now, we've got lots of work to do.
Baba, I was thinking, what if little sister Sing Hing's Italian friend helped us mend these nets that their people keep cutting? Maybe they would stop cutting them.
What are you talking about?
And what if Big Brother Tukli, he made friends with the Portuguese? Maybe they would stop ramming our boats and demanding we only, fish in the bay.
Well, you're crazy.
Bay. No.
Look. Oh, here. See this fish? Sharp teeth. Yeah. Oh, here's another one. Oh, let's call this one. Let's call that the labor unions, okay?
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah, another fish. Oh, the anti-coolie club. Oh,
I've read about them.
Here's another fish. Oh, big, sharp teeth. This is called the Caucasian club. Huh? And these three strong fish, big teeth, they look, look. There's a little fish right there, minding his own business, raising a family. And they attack, and they bite, and they push, and they push. And you know what they call this? They call this the war of the races. How could this be a war? That Chinese fish, they're just trying to survive, make a living. Yeah.
Oh, Baba, now you're crazy playing with fish.
As my mama calls me, crazy horse.
Baba, remember the times that I have shown you in the newspaper all the ways that they make us look ugly?
Ugly?
Like, sometimes they make us look like an octopus.
Octopus? Well, I could use some more arms with this help here.
Yeah, but they also make us look like pig.
Pigs? Oh, I like pork, but I'm not a pig.
And sometimes they make us look like a monkey.
Monkeys.
Even a bat.
A bat. Do I look like a bat?
Oh, Baba, I'm just trying to say. Haven't you seen them downtown, too?
Oh, that would mean I look ugly. I don't look. Look. Me ugly? What about the Lofan people? Oh, those white people with their pale skin and their big noses and their long stringy hair. Besides, I've heard they don't bathe too often, too.
Baba.
But hey, do I look ugly? Le.
Baba, I know someone who's not ugly at all.
What are you talking about now?
Someone I want to marry.
Oh, you want to get married? Married? No, you're not supposed to find your own husband. The tradition, you're supposed to be match married. Oh, you're so Western.
Oh, Baba, no need to make a fuss.
Oh, well, which village? Is he from Pescadero or Point Alones?
Pescadero, not far. And his name is Jung Yao Hoi.
Is he a good man?
He's a very good man, like you.
Oh, like me. Is he handsome like me?
Yes, Baba. And he's a fisherman, too.
Oh, like
You.
me. Well, then I like him already. But are you sure?
Yes, Baba. I just want to get married tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Tomorrow? Wait. You get, this is so, look at it. First, Duck Lee got married. Now he goes away. Now, you want to get married? Then you'll go away. Pretty soon, she'll get married, and she'll be gone. We'll be all alone.
Oh, Baba, you'll be fine without me. Pescadero is close. Besides, Mama already said yes.
Mama said yes? Well, why am I the last to know these things? Oh, I know. Look, Kwakmoy, you're all grown up. I know. I'm so old, and so you want to get married, then...
Please, Baba.
Then
Please.
Yes.
Thank you, Papa. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah. But you bring home a grandchild. Oh, a boy. It has to be a boy.
Papa.
Oh, I'm getting so old for this. Kwok Moi took a shortcut through the pines, down the cliff to walk along the coast known as the 17-mile drive to Pescadero Fishing Village to marry her young man. By now, the Portuguese whalers had taken over Point Lobos, and there were only a few Chinese left living there. And soon, Kwok Moi's entire family would join her in Pescadero, everyone except for Sing Hing, who was match married to a man living in San Francisco.
Oh, Tugli. Come, Tyler. I'm so glad you all
sister.
moved here. I'm not
Yep,
so lonely
yes.
for my family anymore. I have something to show you.
We're all together now, sister.
But look in the newspaper. I want to show you this. It says here,
Yeah, you've been reading this newspaper too much.
and you do too. So look, it says, no one should buy produce from the Chinese that have been picked by the Chinese because they've contaminated it with diphtheria and leprosy. That is not true. That is a lie. What kind of news is this?
Fake news. But look, other side. This one. Look. It's illegal to hire any Chinese, or both the Chinese and the white man will be punished by law.
That is not fair. That is not right. We need to take them to court.
Yeah.
Now, the Portuguese and the Italians and you know, they did pass a law, and then they repealed the fisherman tax law, and then the one that said that Chinese couldn't sell their fish at all, so this can be done. Just don't tell Mama and Baba, they're getting
I
too
know.
old. They don't want to hear these bad
I
news.
know Baba still thinks we live in China. There's nothing we can do about it. No, look, we live here. We've been here. I was born here. You were born here. We're Americans. Look, we've been here longer than many of those Europeans.
Oh, jam negadaw.
Oh, don't say it so loud in front of your baby.
Oh, I know, but I can't help it. They make me so angry, all these laws against us. I can't be like Mama, so calm all the time. No. Take him to court. And also take to court that politician, Kearney, and all his followers who caused riots against the Chinese with that saying, the Chinese
must go, the
The Chinese
Chinese
must go.
must
I've heard it all my life. And how about that Phelan, who says, make California white again? No, take him to court.
Oh, court. Look, we cannot testify against a white man in court, remember? It's the law. But I have heard that some Chinese have testified. Some have taken their cases and have won.
Yes.
Well, maybe we can too.
Yes.
Well, I'll look into that.
Just be careful. Oh, my little son. You have to listen to your mama. You have to be smart like your baba and your Uncle Tugli, huh? Yeah. Because they passed that law in Monterey that said the Chinese could not fish offshore. Right. So what do? We collect more seaweed and sell. See? And then they passed a law that the Chinese could not fish during the day. But, so what did we do? We fish at night. Yes, we fish for squid at night, just like in China. We take the small junk boat out to sea. We hang a fire basket on the side. Oh, those squid, they love the light. They whoosh toward the light. And then the 2 sampans at the bottom of the junk boat, they make these noises, boom, 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 boom. And it scares the squid right into the net between the 2 sampans. Oh, see, so smart. The Lofan, they catch the squid and they just throw it back. They said they don't like it, but have they tried it? No, they never even tried the squid. No, see? Now, my baby son, when you grow up, I want you to remember that when they say out, you say in. And when they say no, you say, oh yeah. Please remember always that you are an American. But don't forget you are also Chinese. Not that they let you forget, but for all the wrong reasons. No, my son, you will be smart.
"1882. The Chinese Exclusion Act finally passed. Now let's see them try to get into our country. Now, even if a Chinaman is going back to China just for a visit, when he tries to get back in, we're not letting him in. 1892, the Geary Act passed. Now a Chinaman needs to have a photo identification to verify who he is, and 2 signatures by white men to verify his personality. Yes. Now, anyone caught without those papers, they'll just be deported. Bye-bye. Now, it doesn't matter whether those Chinamen are born in our soil or not. Sister. Moy. We have to move to Port Alones. Your husband agrees.
I know he agrees, but don't you understand? If we move to Point Alones, it would be closer to Monterey, therefore closer to the Haiti. I have 3 children now.
But why stay Carmel Bay? We fish nighttime Monterey Bay. Look, if we move to Point Alones, we'll have more of our people there. We'll be more of our people, and there'll be strength in numbers. Like Baba says, strength in numbers. So we'll have more protection. So we move.
All right. All right, we move. For the next 20 years, Kwok Moi would raise 6 children altogether. And Tuckley would have the largest fishing fleet in all of Monterey Bay. And Monterey itself was busier than ever, building and building, because finally the Trans-Pacific Railroad had finally come to Monterey, and adaptation was everywhere.
Toot, toot! Now entering the Monterey Bay area. Yes, the stinky city. Yes. Oh, and if you look to the left, there's you step off the train there. There's the quaint little Chinese village with their quaint little huts and their pointy little hats and their cute little sampans, those flat-bottom boats. Now, before you, there's that hardworking Chinese. That's Mr. Tuck Lee. Yeah, he's a really good fisherman. In fact, the scientists at the Stanford Marine Lab, they use that man because he's one of the few fishermen that can find those rare hagfish embryos that the scientists at Stanford study. Yes. Oh, and before you go, be sure to remember to hit the stinky city by buying a souvenir from that little girl over there. That's Tuck Lee's sister. Yeah, her name is Spanish Mary. I don't know why they call her Spanish Mary.
Bleep! Conch d'Avalon a la venta. Conch sales for sale. Bleep!
And though all this progress had come to Monterey, a Chinese man was hung in Monterey just for voting. Nothing would be done about it.
In fact, nothing would be done about any of the racist laws for a very long time. In fact, it was popular to be anti-Chinese. If you're running for office, it got you votes, and once in office, it got you benefits.
And though the Chinese had their Lofan, their white allies in the community, the politicians stood their ground. And it was about to get worse.
Earthquake! Earthquake!
Earthquake!
Earthquake!
Whoa, that was a big shaker up there in San Francisco. What's that, about 125 miles from here?
It says in the newspaper that In the aftermath of the earthquake, the fire completely destroyed Chinatown. Hundreds of Chinese dead, hundreds flee.
Hundreds of those Chinamen are moving down here into our city limits of Monterey, moving to that godforsaken fishing village at Point Alonis.
Mama, they survived. They're here. They've come home.
Now, I don't mind just a few of them Chinese. No, but this has gone too far. Too far. I say we purge. All right, O'Flaherty, Murphy, you gather as many men as you can. Talk to that German fellow, Drumpf. Yeah, he wants to keep California great again. Yeah, so, yeah, and gather them at meet at that fishing village. We'll show them what we got. No! No! Why should we? We were born here.
No, we won't go.
We won't go. We got families here. We won't go.
These must go, not again.
We
no,
won't go.
We won't go.
We won't go. We won't go. We won't.
No! Look at our village. We lost everything.
Everything. Sister, look.
What? Why did they build a fence around our burnt village?
To keep the looters out. It's kind of late for that.
But what about us? Can we still go in and we might still find things in the ashes that are ours?
That's the whole point. Remember, they wanted to drive us out. Oh, but look, my house didn't burn. So I'm going to hop this fence tonight and live in my own house.
No, you were so stubborn. Brother, they'll put you in jail.
Well, let them put me in jail. No, they're trying to break us down little by little. We should be able to live in our own homes, just like all the other Americans.
I don't know why they hate us so much. I mean, we don't lynch them. We don't spit at them. We don't call them names. We don't burn down their houses. We don't riot against them.
Maybe we should riot.
Oh, no. They have all the power. It wouldn't help us at all. And besides, look, the Red Altar survived. It did, just as Mama and Taekwa said, it protected us all the way from China.
Protection. This is protection. They just burned down our whole village. We're just dirt to the Lufan. Just dirt.
Oh. It's ugly. Just because they treat us like dirt doesn't mean we are dirt. No, we have to matter to ourselves, our children, our future, our friends, both the Lofan and the Chinese. Look at them. Look at them and their angry faces. That hate is so ugly. It robs their soul. No, don't listen to hate and don't be like that. Don't be like them.
Yes, you're right. We're survivors.
Yes, we're survivors, not victims.
Hey, I have an idea.
Oh, no.
Yes. J.B. Maccabee. I have an idea. I'll talk to J.B.
Just be careful.
Now, listen here. I know many of you know who I am. I'm J.B. Maccabee, and I'm here to speak my mind. Now, it's horrible what happened to the Chinese village. Now, I'm not going to name any name, but shame on you. Shame on whoever emptied that water tower the night of the village fire. Now, and shame on any of you who should have any harm come to those hardworking, good people, Chinese. No, they're good people. Now, I know you won't like this, but I'm going to lease my land to the Chinese so they can build a new village. And don't anyone try to stop me. It's my land. And don't anyone interfere with my negotiations with that good man, Tuck Lee. You know, I've got my allies, too.
And despite them all wanting to purchase Maccabee's land,
I told you I'm not selling.
he remained a good friend of the Chinese, and soon a new village was built at Maccabee Beach. Smaller, but it was at home.
Order. Now, I know the Chinese are moving closer to our city, and it still stinks, doesn't it? Yeah, you know, their stinky, dry squid. Oh, now, 2 months out of the year, yeah, they dry their squid, and the rest of the year it's fine. But no. We could say that stink is driving away the tourists. Yes, driving away business. We're losing money. I know it's not true, but we can print that because we own the newspapers. So, new law. No more drying squid within the city limits of Monterey. The ayes have it. It's a pass. Now let's see them step around that. Ew.
It's everywhere.
Rotting fish.
Rotten fish. Oh, it smells so
Careful.
bad.
Careful.
I can't breathe. Oh, flies.
Rotting fish all over the beach.
Flies. Oh.
Well, let's do it here. Shovel. Oh, fish guts.
Fish innards.
Heads and tails.
Rotten. We never let our fish rot like this.
Oh, and the flies.
Why isn't there a law against the Italians for dumping their rotten fish on the public beach?
Just keep shoveling.
Oh, so much rot.
Rot. All this rot. By the way, this rot is going to make us money. Ka-ching!
And it certainly did, because those third-generation Chinese, the son and son-in-law of Kwok Moi, took that rotten fish the Italians had just dumped out onto the public beach and turned it into fish fertilizer,
Ka-ching!
fish meal,
Ka-ching!
and fish oil. And they sold it to the farmers in Watsonville and Salinas.
Ka-ching! Ka-ching!
Yes, with every turn of restriction, with every limitation, the Chinese reinvented themselves over and over again. But that we know as the...
There was a new kind of adaptation.
No, but there was... anyway, what's his... Darwin's...
Remember Darwin?
His theory of adaptation. But there was another adaptation taking place.
Survival of the fiercest. What? Our fertilizer business?
Yes.
No. They want to
It's
drive
ours.
us out and take over our business. They even want to copy how we do it.
No, they can't do
No.
that.
Were we not the ones that cleaned up their stinky, rotten mess on the beach?
Yes.
And we happened to turn it into fertilizer.
Yes.
Made money. Good
Yes,
money.
yes.
Made a fertilizer business.
Yes.
Built a fertilizer factory. And now they want to drive us out, copy how I do it, and take over the fertilizer business for themselves?
No.
No.
We say no.
We
say no.
No.
We say no.
No. We say no. We say no.
We
We say
say no.
The fertilizer factory was burned to the ground. Another mysterious fire. And a new fertilizer factory was erected by the Italians right next to their canneries.
By 1930, there was only one Chinese fisherman living at Maccabee Beach. This after 85 years that the Chinese had started a thriving fishing industry, but now overfished, but not by the Chinese.
Like the Chinese fishing villages, over 200 Chinese American communities, villages and towns, encampments and settlements were driven out, burned out, their people scattered, one by one, systematically destroyed. And as for our Chinese fishing village, well, they began to scatter, to apply their skills in towns like Monterey, Pacific Grove, and elsewhere.
and Somé were my great-great-grandparents who traveled from China in 1850 and settled on Point Lobos.
Adapting to changes.
Their second daughter, Sing Hing, my great-grandmother, was born in Point Lobos, married, and moved to San Francisco.
Navigating currents of hatred in a sea of racism.
And their first daughter, Yoklin Wong, was my grandmother, who was born in San Francisco, married, and moved to Chicago.
The Chinese began to scatter to apply their skills and luck elsewhere.
And their second daughter, Gladys Chin, was my mother, born in Chicago, married, and moved to New Orleans, the apartheid South.
Making new choices, finding the courage and the determination to survive.
And their second daughter, Nancy Wong, me, was born in New Orleans and as an adult moved to California,
Finding the resolve to create a place called home.
making the geographical circle complete. Thank you, all my ancestors. We are now 7 generations in our American family.
The Chinese must go. The Chinese must go?
No, we're still here, and every summer the descendants of Kwakbo and Somé gather at a family reunion in the summer to celebrate the human triumph of courage, perseverance, and inner strength against all odds. But it is not over. Mom!
Mong! Pull! Mong! Pull! Lift the lamps higher! Lift our lamps.
Higher. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, usually after the performance too, because it's such a current issue going on now with xenophobia, anti-immigrant sentiment, we actually like to engage a little bit in a very brief conversation with people. So we're sort of open to some comments. I know if are the mics on in the
But I know it's
stations?
you guys have to go to lunch and all that stuff, and you have a full schedule ahead of you. So if there's anyone, just do it quickly, and then we'll go on.
And comments or
And
things
we
that
have
you've noticed.
products outside if you want to buy, a CD, and our DVD is being reproduced, so you can do a pre-order, sign up.
If you want to also bring us to any of your communities, please talk to us. We have cards.
And tomorrow we'll
we're
be
doing
at
a
St.
show,
Mark's
another show
at
tomorrow at
2.
St. Mark's in the Bowery in New York City.
Yeah. So anyone want to say anything?
Right here.
Center, yes.
Hi, Terrence Lee from St. Philip's Church in Harlem. I want to thank you for your presentation. I'm a Charlestonian, and I'm new to I've been here a year. I appreciate the diocese and the work around racial reconciliation, but I knew about lynching of my people. I did not know, embarrassed to say, I did not know that the Chinese were lynched as well.
Absolutely.
I thought African Americans were the only ones in this nation lynched because it was so prevalent in the area where I was from.
Yes.
I think your story needs to be told in every arena that it can be.
Thank you.
And I pray your strength, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments really quickly over here?
I wanted to thank, I'm Martha Overall from St. Anne's Church in the South Bronx. I wanted to thank you so very much for a timely, profound, and truly beautiful presentation. It meant so much to me, and I'm sure to all of us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
for having us. Thank you. And we want to thank Michael Hall.
Oh, ancestors.
And for-
before we do that too, there was always thank you, but one of the things we want to do is to acknowledge the ancestors, the progeny, the descendants
some of them are here today.
Kwakmoy and that fishing village in Monterey. If you are part of the
Please stand
greater
up.
family, please stand up. Your ancestors are
Come
honored.
on, stand, there.
Woo!
There.
Yes. No, we have to defer to.
Yes, I know.
Thank you. This was wonderful. And as was mentioned earlier, I think in my address and last night, Chamoy is a member of St. Paul's on the Hill in Ossining. She's part of our diocesan family. She is Nancy's cousin.
Yep.
And
she's
we're-
responsible for having us here
Yes.
as well.
And she helped to bring this play here. Yoko and Michael from Anti-Racism helped to bring this play here. And we're very grateful to have it. As both Martha and Terrence said, we have great narrative around xenophobia and racism in America involving African Americans and Latinos, and the story of the oppression of Chinese people and Asian peoples has not been as well known. And so I'm pleased that some of that story was told today. And we thank you so much for your presentation. You're wonderful actors. Now we are going to go to lunch.
Fish. Salted fish.
We have fried salt fish. Mary, what time is it now? What time are we regathering?
12:24 right now, and we're regathering at 1:20.
Okay, 1 hour from now we'll regather. We will go immediately into the results of the first balloting, and then we have more business this afternoon, and we'll have the resolutions, all the ones that were submitted before, and the ones that were responsive to my address. So go to lunch.